Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Matt. I am your host, Matt Taylor. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Spiderman cake. Awesome. Spider-Man is one of my favorite superheroes. I had a request to make a superhero cake, and so I decided to make a Spider-Man cake. And one of my friends that lives really close, he really likes Spider-Man, so I'm going to make this cake and give it to him. Let's get started. For the ingredients, I have a cake that I made in a 10-inch cake pan, and I just used a traditional chocolate cake mix. I have some buttercream frosting, I have some red fondant, some black fondant, some white fondant, some water, a little brush, a fondant smoother, a knife, a little spatula. I also have a cake board that I put some foil on it, and then I cut out a stencil for my face to use as a guide. Okay, and I got a rolling pin. Okay, first what I did is I baked my cake and I let it cool completely. And now what we want to do is we want to take it out of here and put it on our cake board. Like so. And then what I want to do is I'm going to trim a little bit of this off. I do like the shape of it because it makes a nice shape, but I'm going to go ahead and just trim a little bit of it off and just follow the natural slope of the cake here. And then what we want to do is we want to take our stencil and put it on here, and then we want to cut around it. Okay, and then what we can do is we can just cut down the sides here to make it a little easier to come out. So then we just take our cake's sides off here, like so. Okay, and now we want to smooth out the edges here. So just taking our knife, we're just gonna go ahead and trim off the edges. And just make it so it's a little bit more rounded. And just go a little bit at a time with this. You don't want to do a ton at a time because you might take off too much and then you have to go, stick pieces back on. So I'm just going to try to get a nice little smooth edge. So about like that is probably good. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this other side. So about like that, I think is actually pretty cool. It's pretty good. Put a little face on there, yeah. Okay, and once you get the shape that you want, we're gonna frost the whole thing. Open up my frosting, and you can use homemade frosting, frosting in the can, whatever you like, okay? Let's go ahead and just frost this whole cake. Now that I have it completely frosted, now what we want to do is we want to set this aside. Get out our red fondant, and now we're going to take it and you want to knead it so it gets nice and soft before you roll it. Okay, now let's roll out the fondant, and we want it to be bigger, obviously, than the face. So we want it to get pretty large. And they have specific fondant rolling pins that you can buy if you want. I'll put a link down below where you can find all this stuff that I'm using and all these ingredients. But you can find them all at Walmart or Target. Okay, and then what you do is you just take it and you roll it up on your, lightly on your rolling pin. We'll take our cake. And just roll it back down. And then we want to just kind of smooth it out a little bit. Smooth it out. And just kind of pull it back a little. Make sure your hands are clean, obviously. Then we want to trim it. You can use a knife. You could use a pizza roller. You got special fondant knives, but you can just come in here. And now what we're going to do is we want to put on our eyes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stencil here and I'm going to cut out the black part. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to set this up here. And now I want to take some black fondant and cut these out of black fondant. All right, so we can get an eyeball out of there. Take a sharp knife. And then what we want to do is we want to cut out the white part. Okay? All right, fantastic. Okay, now we want to roll out the white fondant for the white parts of the eye. All right, and then go ahead and cut around those. All right, there we go, nice. And we'll pick this one up. And set it right on there. Now if it has trouble sticking to each other, just go ahead and use a little bit of water and put it underneath there and it'll act like some glue. So you can take your brush, some water, put some water on there if you need to, and go ahead and put the other eye on. Like that. All right, we got our eyeballs done. Okay, now we want to attach the eyes. So I want this one to go right here. And then what I'll do is I'll just lift it up a little bit and I'll take some water, just dampen it a little bit. And go ahead and stick it on. Now we want to get this other one on. We want him to be like that. So it's coming together. He's coming together here. Got the eyeballs on. And now comes the really tedious part, and that's putting all the webbing on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our fondant and we're going to roll out really, really thin pieces of it. If you happen to have, it's called a fondant extruder, you can make these little strings a lot easier with it. Or you can just paint them on if you want. Take a black food coloring or black icing coloring, and you can paint the lines on if you want. And goes around this way. And you might have to put a line of water there so it'll stick. Now we got all those lines done. I need to go down the sides, and then we need to do the in-betweens. All right, now I need to do the cross webbing. And it's kind of bent. If you look at the picture there, it's a little bent. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that going. Like I said, this is a pretty tedious project, but in the end, it's gonna look awesome. So here, we're gonna go like this. All right, it's turning out awesome. I just have one last piece to do around the chin. All right, the Spider-Man cake is done. It turned out fantastic. Really, really cool. Pretty easy to do. It was a little tedious doing the little black webbing, but other than that, really easy to do. If I can do it, you can do it. Go out there and make your own Spider-Man cake. I'm Matt Taylor. This has been another episode of In the Kitchen with Matt. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thumbs up, like the video. Down in the corner, push it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Take care. Now I'm not gonna dive into this guy right now because I'm gonna take it over to my friend's house. See you next time.